Ladies and gentlemen, the concept car, Porsche Mission E. What makes an electric car a sports car? Or to put it differently, what does an e-Porsche have to be able to do? How does it have to look? And when will it be launched? You see the answer right here. This is what it might look like in the foreseeable future. This concept car is called our Porsche Mission E. This gives you an outlook on what we think a pure electric sports car should be like. An e-Porsche that deserves the name must have a range of at least 500 kilometers. And of course, even if you're driving it in a sporty fashion, with no ifs, ands, or buts, which is what our customers expect today in everyday driving and on racetracks. And sporty also means lasting fast acceleration and braking without any loss of power. Fast acceleration for an e-Porsche means in less than 3.5 seconds, it's got to go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, and in less than 12 seconds, from 0 to 200 kilometers an hour. Sporty driving also means a top speed of more than 250 kilometers an hour, and not just once per battery charge. And a Porsche with an electric powertrain, of course, has to be fast on the North Loop of the Nürburgring. Let's say in a lap time of less than 8 minutes. And since everyday usability at Porsche is just as important as performance, a recharge for your e-Porsche should not last more than 15 minutes. It's like today, when you go refuel, wash your hands, and then have an espresso. And after that, you can look forward to the 600 horsepower that are lurking in the 800-volt turbo charging station in the Porsche Mission E. And all of this in a car that everyone will immediately recognize as a Porsche, which transfers the design DNA of the 911 into the world of pure electric sports cars. Functional, sensuous, timelessly beautiful, forever young on wheels, and as radically modern as the original 911 at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1963. A sports car that follows the gestures, the glances, and the intuition of the driver when it's being used, so that the driver can concentrate on what's essential, a typical Porsche driving experience. When will we be there? As soon as the technology is advanced enough, presumably in less than 5 years. Thank you.
Exciting. If you are working in a period where so many things change, where you try to discover what are the possibilities and maybe more freedom for a designer, that's even more exciting. Some elements are purely concept car. If you look at the 918, the production car versus the concept car, I think we will manage to stay pretty close. The combination of you recognize that it is a Porsche, but you recognize as well that this is the starting point of a new period. New design elements, if you look about the headlamps, if you about the sculpture on the side. This kind of excitement that we experienced when we were driving the cars, we wanted to translate into the exterior design. On the interior, definitely the interesting thing is that you have more freedom. We always wanted to create an interior that is very light, very open, very puristic, reduced. If you look at the dashboard, we have these 2 layers and then with the possibility to have screens in between. I think we found a good way to incorporate all these new technologies and still have a Porsche feeling in the interior. It is very nice to realize that people love what you have done.
This vehicle is Porsche's answer to the questions associated with the future of electric mobility. Our Porsche Mission E. This concept car is a truly fantastic challenge for us because it's our first electric sports car. You're commissioned to do a job, in this case, to develop a 4-seat sports car with an electric drive system. Then you start producing sketches as a team. And then the sketches are shown in presentations that are made in specific intervals. After a sketch has been selected, a 1:3 scale model is produced. When you're defining the basic concept for the vehicle, you start out by setting its proportions, and then you figure out how to actually build it. We built a basic chassis and then combined it with electrical components from the Boxster E. So in the end, we had a demonstration model that could be driven. It was very important to us here to create typical Porsche proportions. We were able to design an extremely low front end because there's no engine in the front. We also didn't need to have any huge air intakes, so we were able to design everything in the front in a very clean manner, almost a bit like the old Porsche models from the 1950s, 60s and 70s. We then mixed the whole thing with the wonderful shapes of the 919. Creating this combination of a race car and a carefully designed vehicle was the best part of the job. One thing we thought about, of course, was how to attractively integrate an air curtain that would guide air around the front wheel. This led to the front-end design we chose, which, as one can see, has the classic round Porsche nose flanked by 2 intakes that let air pass under the headlights towards the wheel arch. First of all, the vehicle is clearly recognizable as a Porsche. But we designers wanted to go a step further and see how the Porsche design language, and especially a Porsche electric design language, might be developed further. Our intention here was to also be somewhat provocative with some parts of the vehicle. But nevertheless, just one look at its proportions and the general design is all it takes to see that the vehicle is clearly a Porsche. We also addressed a couple of strategic issues that are very important to us. The 4-point lights in the front were important to me. The arc of light was the main issue in the rear. For us, the door concept is a typical sports car design, one without a frame for the first time. Convenient entry in the rear is ensured by rear hinged doors, and the fact that there's no B-pillar makes for perfect access in the rear. The vehicle is very special for Porsche, as it's a new icon. One of our most well-known cars is the 911, of course. And this vehicle will carry into a new era all the things the 911 has been famous for throughout the decades. That's why we came up with some very special things for the interior as well. We tried to focus on various key aspects. One of these being the fact that we wanted to achieve an entirely new type of interaction with a vehicle. We utilize gesture and eye recognition systems here to enter commands for the car. We tried to create a new type of holographic display. You can input commands on the front passenger side and via the center console. This, in fact, is already a standard feature in the 918 today. Besides that, we did something new with the seats. We've got lightweight seats that are bucket seats naturally, and these have a fairly sporty design. Then there's the craftsmanship, of course. The quality of the materials used truly conforms to the highest standards, which is just what you'd expect from a Porsche.